Today I'm tackling a little bit bigger of a project than I normally would do. Recently got an order for a reception desk that required some tile and then also some cedar tops. I'm gonna go ahead and build that out, and if you guys like what you see, like and subscribe, and leave a comment below. So check it out. Got back from our local hardware store and picked up 2 sheets of 4x8 3/4 inch plywood. I got them to rip everything down while I was at the store so I could fit it in my SUV. This is going to be the front face of the reception desk. I need to still trim it down another couple of inches to get the top to be 45 inches total. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Now that I got that all squared up, I took a few measurements over on the side here. This total length down this way is 45 inches. I cut in from the face of this plywood over 8 inches. So I drew a line down here, and then I have this at 28.5 inches from the bottom this way. I looked online, and a couple of places said that a lot of comfortable desks for office spaces usually sit anywhere between 28 and 30 inches. So that's what I'm going to go with for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out on the table saw as much as I can, and then finish it up with the jigsaw. So you're probably wondering why I cut out 4 of those pieces. I'm actually going to be coupling 2 of them together on each side to give it more of a thickness, and then I'm going to trim it out on the edges. So I broke out the nail gun, cut a couple of pieces of extra 3/4 inch plywood, and I kind of spread it out sporadically over the piece of my desk. Once I get these all nailed down and glued down, I'm going to take another piece of what I just cut a second ago and put it on top. The reason I'm doing this is to kind of give it a little more thickness so that I can trim it out later and look a little more hardy. Now that I got these all glued up, nailed down, I put a little glue on top of this, and I'm going to line this top portion as best that I can. I'm going to kind of go back and forth to make sure that there's some good glue connection, and then I'm going to nail it down. Okay, so it's day 2. I let these set up overnight with the glue and the nails. I'm going to take these 2 pieces, I'm going to glue the front, and then I'm going to attach it to the front piece of the plywood. It's going to start looking more like a reception desk now. So I'm not going to be using these clamps to keep everything together. I put a little glue on the side here and then on the front of this face. I'm actually going to drill out with a drill bit and then put a screw through here, and that's what's going to hold it together, and I'm going to switch these clamps over onto the other side. Now that the 2 sides are attached, I went over to my miter saw and I cut a 45-degree angle on this side, and this will be used as my trim piece, where I'll have this piece and this piece come together and get connected behind the bottom, kind of dress it out just a little bit. So the client requested to have tile on the front of this reception desk, so I made sure to get some backer board I need to cut this little piece off so that I can actually fit it between the two pieces of trim on there. When you cut backer board, it has a fine particulates when you cut it, so make sure you're wearing a respirator because that stuff will get in your lungs and it will tear you up. So I will be wearing this. I have my fan going and I'm going to cut this guy. So I have no idea if this thing's gonna fit. I hope it does, because I really don't want to cut that again, especially a small sliver like that. So I'm gonna go and put this on. I pre-drilled a couple holes. I'm gonna screw it in there with the special backer board screws. So I didn't show you guys all the mill process when I was milling up this cedar. I essentially just took the sides down in the table saw. I didn't film that, but you saw me running it through the planer to kind of get a smoother finish. Now I'm going to take it over to my work platform there, and I'm going to do a quick glue up with some glue, obviously, and some clamps. And I'm going to test out the domino and see how that holds. So should be exciting. So the first part kind of was a little bit strange. It's kind of hard to line them up, but it was the first time that I used the domino, so hopefully I get a little bit better at that. Let's try maybe for the second piece here. Alright, don't want to jinx it. Let's see. There we go. Alright, back the next morning. I already took off the clamps. I didn't bother showing you guys that for the sake of time. I'm going to come back through and I'm going to try to clean out some of these gaps in the tabletop. There's a little bit of imperfections inside the cedar, and I'm just going to fill those with epoxy and then let that cure for 24 hours. Sand it flush, and it should be nice and stable and look pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and start sanding that and then mix up some epoxy and pour it into these little gaps. So I don't have any of that fancy red tape that people use to pour epoxy. I'm just going to use this duct tape that I have on hand. Probably should be using that other stuff, but I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to go ahead and cover up the bottom of these guys and hope that it doesn't leak out. I guess we'll see. So I have everything taped up, and then I clamped it down to this piece of plywood surface. It's going to be kind of hard to film this because I'm a one-man operation and there's going to be epoxy all over the place. So I need to mix it up in this little solo cup, pour it in all these small crevasses, and then let that set up overnight and sand it in the morning. So it'll look pretty good when it's all done. I have this all cleaned out. I blew on it to get all the dust out of there. Sure, all the dust isn't really out of there, but hopefully it'll be okay. So we're gonna give this thing a go. Okay, so she's holding, so that's a good thing. So while that epoxy is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and lay out these tiles onto this. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this over and put this out, lay it out, and see how all these things are fitting together. I may have to squeeze in a small row at the top. I'm going to squeeze it in at the top because we're going to have a little bit of a drape over from the cedar board, and it'll cover up nice, so it'll look really good. Okay, so I did a quick test fit with this one right here. I cut off these triangles. I'm going to take this piece over to my little jig that I set up. So I'm going to need to cut off this triangle, and this one, And then I'm gonna take these little circular ones off, put them over in my spare parts pile, because I'll be needing those later for the opposite side when I'm doing the grout. Okay, so now that that's off, I have the angle grinder in this fit for cutting these tiles. So now I just need to cut off these last triangles on this one here. And then once I get these triangles cut off, I'll be moving them over to this side right here. And I'll be putting them in kind of like that. So I removed all the tiles off the backsplash here. I have them all kind of staged up down here, so when I slap the mud on, I just boom, 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 put it up on there. So I'm coming over here. I measured out 6 quarts of water down there. I'm gonna mix up a bag of mud, and we'll get to grouting. So I definitely mixed up way too much mortar, not grout. I said grout earlier, but it's actually mortar. So apparently this thing, if I mixed up the whole 50-pound bag, I think it would cover 60 square feet, and I'm pretty sure we're only dealing with like 15 square feet here. So I'm gonna start slapping this stuff on. My wife is coming out with the dog. Hello, babe. So I have it pretty much spread out. I used about half of that stuff, and I'm probably just gonna throw out the other half, because I already have way too much stuff on there as it is. So now that it's kind of spread out, I'm gonna come back and use the trowel and mark these grooves through there. And that's what helps the tile stick to the cement board. So here comes the fun part of putting the tile on the front face there. So I'm gonna do that now. So I went ahead and let this dry for 48 hours, and I'm ready to come back and sand down all the epoxy up to 220, and then I'll probably put a little water on there and then let it dry, let some of the fibers stick up a little bit. That's my dog barking. And come back and sand it to probably 400 grit, and then put some polyacrylic on the top of it. So there's a natural defect in the wood, and I decided to join these boards in the specific order so that I could use this defect and actually cut out a slot for the computer wires to go down and go into the outlets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ruler and I'm going to try to line it up as best as possible. I'm going to strike a line, and I'll eventually come back and cut this line with a jigsaw. So of course, when I was finishing up cutting out the desk to fit it into the slot here, of course my camera died and I left all my batteries in my office. So I'm going to go ahead and skip all those steps because I'm not redoing them because I'm pressed for time. And I'm going to go ahead and slap on a couple coats of polyacrylic and then sand it down to 400 grit once that cures for about 24 to 48 hours. So off camera, I went ahead and taped off everything and got it ready so that I could paint the shiplap and all the other sides of the desk. So you definitely want to do these in very thin coats and kind of build up that paint and primer together, and it should look pretty nice. Okay, so we're finally on the last part, which is putting the grout in the cracks of these tiles. I bought this pre-mixed grout. It looks should look pretty good. It's a little bit of a gray color. The good thing about this pre-mix ground is you don't have to seal it later, which saves me a little bit of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my little tool here and start trying to work this stuff into the cracks and the crevices, so bear with me. I basically got zero footage of me actually putting the desk in the reception area. Put a little bit of kind of side clips that I got kind of at a later point. If you guys like this video and you're still sticking around, definitely like and subscribe, and I'm gonna try to post more content weekly. So we'll see you guys later.